All right, what's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. New week, August 15th. US markets are opening up here shortly. As you can see, since the Sunday evening futures open right around here, this is what we've had so far in the overnight session here in the S&P 500 futures. BTC itself had a pretty strong pop right at the new weekly open. We opened the weekly right around here, ripped up all the way up to about 25,200 and some change, and then started to roll over in the overnight session. And now we're back inside the weekly open. And you guys know very well the way we map out the markets in analysis in the Alpha Trades communities, we like to look at the weekly, the monthly open. We like to follow simple strategies such as the VWAP strategy, whether it's on the weekly, monthly, or the quarterly basis. And as of right now, what the market is telling us is BTC itself is looking pretty weak, or rather, you could say it lacks strength, especially in this whole movement that we've had on the way up, basically since this local high in the middle of July. Every succeeding high right here has been barely able to get above this previous high. And this is very telling of the overall momentum of the market, especially in Bitcoin, which is that it definitely lacks a bid. It lacks a narrative. I think the only thing that has a strong narrative and a strong bid over the last several months, or the last 2 months rather, is Ethereum. Because Ethereum has the merge news coming out. It has a clear, strong bid, especially once it put in this bottom. It escaped out of this range with some pretty strong velocity. And it's been just trending up very nicely since then. But even Ethereum, in my opinion, has been showing a little bit of weakness right at this local high. You could identify that in a few ways. Number one, if you start zooming into the volume profile of this particular area right here, right, you can see right here, volume kind of topped off after this big spike in this candle right here, and then has been dismal on the way up since here. So what this tells us is there's not the same kind of bidding activity that we had with the consistent push from this point onward. I think it's actually getting gradually weaker on the way up. And if Ethereum, which is probably one of the strongest assets, which has been bid up since, what is it, like maybe middle of June back here, right? So here's middle of June as a comparison of where some of these assets, panned out to. So let's go back to that. Okay, here's where the crypto markets basically bottom, middle of June. And here's BTC. It's up about 27% over the last 2 months. Ethereum, on the other hand, is way the heck up here, which is 92%. Obviously, there's other assets such as Atom and Aave, Curve, and MATIC, which are doing much better. Uni as well, and ETC as well. But more importantly, Ethereum, because Ethereum has basically overperformed Bitcoin by almost 50 to 70%. And so if that's the case, what we need to be paying attention to is when Ethereum starts to show weakness and it starts to show a lack of a bid, then in my opinion, that's where the market is going to start showing you that it's starting to rotate to the downside again. As of right now, I don't see that the market has fully topped. I do believe that the momentum is being lost. And if we start seeing opportunities where the market does come into key areas of support, which I would probably say is around 1735, I still think that's an area to bid again, because that was a previous support all the way back here in May earlier this year. It was resistance right here multiple times, right there. And now if it comes back to 1735, that's not a bad area to bid. But it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to start going from 1700 all the way to 2500 or 3000 or anything like that. It might simply be that in the midst of a rotation to the downside, we may bounce here, push up, not able to clear these highs, and then rotate back down. In which case, if that does happen, when we start sensing that the market is not able to get above this high, this is where you start closing out of your longs and probably start getting short here all the way back to, at minimum, 1200, which was this previous resistance, which will probably be support on the way back down, and then possibly these lows down here around $800 or so. But again, we're in the local analysis. We're not talking about new highs or new lows. We're just talking about what are the levels in between that we could play. Well, I think the level in between right now is possibly you can go short right now and say, okay, I believe that's the top. And from here, at minimum, your first target is 1735, this level. Your next target is probably down here, somewhere around 1450, which was previously respected right there as range low. Other than that, I don't really see anything in the middle that's worth taking as a trade. It's either this point right here where 1735 bounces price temporarily, and if that breaks, then we go to the downside, 1450, 1300, and then down here, $900 or $800. I believe that BTC is probably also going to show you somewhat of a possible weakness in the coming days, if that is to be the case, meaning if the market is really showing you that, hey, this is a rising wedge that's building out, you can see the volume overall, matches the rising wedge, which is price kind of grinds up slowly, but the volume overall is kind of, breaking down. If that is to be the case, well, then that means that this is a pretty good short once 24.3 is rejected again. And then we could take this trade down to 21.7 and then down to range low around 18,000 or 19,000 rather, and then newer lows down here. But again, near term, I think what's probably going to happen is we're going to chop around this area for a little bit between this, maybe push up and then, rotate back down, or we simply move from here down towards sweeping this higher low and this higher low, clear those, hit the August monthly open, and then begin our big move up into this big SR level I have, which is 26,750. That's the 200 weekly EMA. Okay, that's my big target that I still have in mind. I think if BTC comes to this level right here, the August monthly open, I think that's probably a decent area to start getting long in. Stop could be somewhere down here or down here around 22,500. Take this trade all the way into 26,750. Let me check out some other assets. I think Solana was definitely looking strong, but as you can see, it's looking strong in terms of this 3 or 4 day movement that it had. But then other than that, similar to BTC, Solana doesn't really have a strong bid. In fact, one could make the argument that over in this particular area, okay, Solana has been just slowly grinding on up versus if you look at Ethereum, we split the screen right here. Let's go to Ethereum, right? Ethereum probably looks a little bit stronger in terms of a momentum or a trend up here than Solana. So you can kind of see that some of these stronger altcoins that, really held their own in the bull market times, right? They're not really looking as strong. The Solana or the other L1s. So what this tells me is the market overall is seeking any opportunity to capitalize on the Ethereum merge narrative or other narratives that may come up, or it might build off opportunities to short squeeze people because it just doesn't have the kind of ability and momentum that it had in, say, several months ago, or the bull market times, where all positive news could flow in and lift the price. You may have new products or new opportunities coming out that may lift the price, or basically most of the market. That's not the case right now. We're in a very tricky market where I think liquidity is very tight. Capital crunch is real. I think most of our market is being driven by macro as well as US equity markets. And you can see from the equity market perspective, we hit our yearly VWAP right there, white line. We're coming very close to 4295 or 4300 points as a key resistance point as well. So what that tells me is the current state of the market is getting a little bit heavier to the top side, meaning that if the market does find a reason to start breaking down, it's not going to take a lot, because the buyers are probably exhausted and the sellers are just pretty active and pretty happy to sell at key resistance points. And once the buyers start disappearing or stop buying, the price will easily start floating down and break down faster, like it did back here, like it did back here. But that has yet to be seen. So we'll see how that pans out over the next few days. For now, like I said, I still think that if we have one more leg down, it might be worth longing, because you don't know if price moves into this August monthly open. You don't know from here if it's going to put a new high all the way up to 26 or 27K, or if it's going to do something like this, where it rotates up and then starts breaking down, right? We don't know which way it's going to go. Being in the middle of where we are right now, I don't see that as a good opportunity to trade, because this is no man's land. I don't know what's going to happen from here. From here, trying to aim for this move, that's not really worth it for me, because my stop, is right here, which could easily be wicked into, or I have a much deeper stop, which is up here. Now, obviously, you could go short and say, well, I don't think we're going to make it above the weekly open. So you go short here, tight stop, take this trade right back into August monthly open. It's a pretty obvious area to get short. But if you're patient enough, you might get this opportunity right here in BTC and get long in BTC all the way up to the 200 weekly open, 200 weekly EMA. And then same goes for, say, something like Ethereum, which, like I said, could give you an opportunity from here all the way up into 1735, get long here, take this trade back into 2000, or we might push higher into 2150, 2250 up here. Okay. If you look at this chart real quick, you can see why 2150 or 2135 rather is an important level, because as you can see back here, this is a previous resistance point that rejected price twice and then sold us off quite aggressively back here in May earlier this year. So that point might get banged into in the coming days. And who knows, maybe that's the real selling point. Maybe that's the point where we then start breaking down from there quite hard, because it's hard to keep price elevated above 2100 or 2000. I have another altcoin that I'm watching closely, which is MATIC. I think MATIC is probably looking pretty decent. It had a very strong daily move above this level, but unable to sustain above these highs, as you can see. The following daily broke back down inside these wicks. And then, of course, today's daily is now breaking down even harder. So that kind of is very telling of the market overall, which is that the market is failing to find a reason to keep moving up, but is finding many reasons to dissolve back down. And that just makes for an overall weak market, in a market that you have to be very cautious about when it comes to longing for much higher upside. Now, it's entirely possible that you do get long opportunities, but maybe the long opportunity right now is not the best. But if we get a further pullback, right, when the market looks a bit stretched on the smaller time frames to the downside, so for MATIC, maybe the opportunity is like this, right? I think that MATIC is either getting retested right now at a key level. From here, it can move up, or MATIC is going to squeeze all longs into this level, which is around 90 cents, or longs into this level, which is at around 88 cents, and it breaks down into these, recovers, and then shoots all the way up back to $1, maybe all the way up towards $1.25, which is this key level that I have on a daily chart. If you want to see that daily chart, here's how it looks, right? This is a key SR level that MATIC maintained multiple times before it broke down. So who knows? Maybe it heads up all the way up here. Okay. Again, like I said, I'm flat right now in terms of positioning, looking for opportunities to give me a pullback. If we do get a deeper pullback, maybe we don't get a deeper pullback, right? Maybe the market just starts turning around from here by today or tomorrow, in which case, then maybe that's just the kind of market that we have to buy into for a long. And then you can go long here, stop just below today's daily low on MATIC, and then take this long trade probably into $1.25. Okay. There's other ways to look at MATIC in terms of target profit levels. So if we look at VWAPs, here's kind of what we have on the VWAP basis. So on a VWAP weekly, you can see MATIC is currently under the VWAP weekly. However, if you see the quarterly and the monthly, here's how the monthly looks, right? We're breaking back down inside the VWAP monthly upper band, but the VWAP itself is right here around 92, 93 cents, okay? So maybe we come tag that VWAP right there. This is the monthly again, right? And then we start to move up from here. That's one way to look at it. Now let's go to the quarterly real quick, right? Here's the quarterly. Well, we're banging right on top of the quarterly in MATIC, the upper band of the VWAP. So if we're in the upper band of the VWAP right there, right, we do not want to breach too much lower, okay? Definitely you don't want to break these higher low structures that have been created, because then that will mean that we're back inside the upper band right here of the VWAP. We're breaking structure, and we're probably headed down to the VWAP quarterly itself, which is all the way down around 79 or 78 cents. Personally, I don't think we're going to break down right away. I think we're going to chop up and down, or I think it's going to probably do something like this and possibly push back up either towards this local high, maybe all the way up to, $1.25 up here, or here's the final way to look at the VWAP, which is the yearly, right? Remember, the yearly VWAP is, beginning from this year, right? So where does that take us? Well, the yearly VWAP right now for MATIC is currently around $1.15 up here. So we may have one more leg up to tag that VWAP all the way up to the yearly level, maybe stretch higher before we break back down, okay? And I'll tell you guys one thing, the yearly VWAP's extremely, extremely useful when it comes to trading. You can see on the S&P 500, here's a yearly VWAP, right? This is where pretty much the year started, rejected the yearly VWAP, sold off. Came back to the yearly VWAP in the S&P 500, again, sold off. Tried to stretch all the way up to the upper band of the yearly VWAP, sold off. Rejected the yearly VWAP, sold off. Once again, S&P 500 futures were coming back to that yearly VWAP, okay? Maybe it stretches up higher, but maybe this is it, right? Maybe this is it, and we start rounding out from here and start breaking back down. BTC, right? You can kind of see the yearly VWAP is a little bit further out. And I don't think that BTC is going to make it all the way up there. So here's the lower band of the yearly VWAP. Here's the VWAP itself on the yearly around $34,000. We're not even able to get inside the lower band of the yearly VWAP. That tells you that this particular asset, BTC, is pretty darn weak. Because guess what? MATIC is already pretty deep inside the yearly VWAP lower band, right? It's pretty close to the VWAP itself. Ethereum, okay, where is Ethereum? Ethereum is also very close to the yearly VWAP right there. pretty deep inside this lower band, right? Yet BTC not even able to get up here. Historically, Bitcoin has given an indication to the market that if BTC itself is looking weak, then most of the alts are sooner or later going to start breaking back down, right? And so whenever that happens, you have to be careful and cautious in the market, because that means that the market doesn't really have that much in terms of legs. So I'm very cautious about upside potential in Ethereum, meaning I think Ethereum could get towards this yearly view up around 2150, but I don't know about 23 or 2500 or anything up here. Same thing with MATIC. Maybe it gets towards $1.15, maybe $1.20, but I don't know about $1.50 or $2 or anything like that. Okay. So anyway, I hope you found this analysis helpful. A few things on my Twitter feed. I think you guys will like this a lot. Make sure y'all read this book, Think and Grow Rich. If you want to change your mindset, whether you want to do better in markets, do better in life, do better in business, job, etc., make sure you read this book. I found this quote itself to be extremely helpful. And then crypto in general, right? I talked about this short opportunity yesterday. BTC was trading at 25,100. I talked about this possibly breaking down to the monthly open, which is 23.3. Still possible, not really a impossible feat, right? It could still break back down, so keep an eye on that. This documentary or interview rather that's come out with Zach Guzman and Do Kwon, I think it's really, really good. I watched it this morning. Fantastic interview. I think there's more episodes to come out, so make sure y'all watch this. It's on coinage.media. And then let me see here. Let me see if there's anything else I want to talk about. I don't really see anything on the heat map per se. Open interest looks relatively decent. I don't see anything unusual on the CBD, and I don't see anything unusual on the net long versus net shorts. Maybe the shorts are getting a little bit piled up here, but nothing too intense, because you can kind of see in this particular area, right? We don't really have that much in terms of long liquidations. So maybe if we have one more move down and longs get squeezed, and then we also see shorts piling up down here, so around 23.7, something like that, maybe that's possible that, okay, we could break down. So it kind of looks like this, right? So that chart that we were just looking at is basically this chart right here. See this and this. Okay, so that means that if we have one more swift move down, whether it's 23.7 or all the way to 23.3, and we see longs getting squeezed out, but then shorts piling up here, then that means there's a higher probability that we're going to get a squeeze up. And again, like I said, bidding this area would be something that I would be watching closely. Non-investment advice, just letting y'all know. All right, cool. Well, that's it, everybody. That's all I got. Good luck. Take care. If y'all like my analysis, you can sign up for our membership. The link is below in the YouTube description. TheAlphaTrades.com is a website. Come join. You'll have access and analysis to our community right here, private Discord. We have a 5K challenge account that we start every year. I show my trades transparently, my analysis, my stops, my target profit, everything all transparent in the 5K account. I show this for my paid members. Hope y'all join, and good luck to you in the rest of the trading week. Cheers.